Welcome to the William Merritt Chase Estate here in Southampton. Tonight we're going to have a night of poetry with a collection of different kinds of poets. We have Amy Camel, Luther Leahy Miller, Ed Stever, the Poet Laureate of Suffolk County from 2011 to 2013. We have Molly Weiss, the Parish Art Museum Poetry Slam champion. And we have me, Claude Mayers, and we'll share some poems with you about all kinds of different things. I wanted to start off with a little short one called The Greater Good. The greater good is superseded by present fixation on survival, on accomplishing what is needed now, before noon, before the siren screams, before the sun sets at the end of a busy day. Everybody has to give in to the greater good and get your immunization shots and even though they might have mercury in them. Or, the HPV shots that they're making girls take starting at 13. There's about 100 girls that have died from those shots. Yeah, Gardasil. It's not very well publicized. This one kind of comes on the back end of what's happening now. This is the 20th of September. Summer ends this year on the 22nd of September at about 10:50 at night. And I just moved out of a house that I lived in for 15 years. I had this great rose bush that I got from the Bronx Zoo that was the nicest smelling one in the rose garden. And I had to leave it there at the house when I sold it. Anyway, this poem's called The Roses Are Blooming. The roses are blooming on the cherished vine. It almost summer, the air so cold, reminding me of mortal chimes, sounding my attention, my interest in continuing my pleasure, smelling the aroma of nature's flowers before they fall apart. Petals dry, pale, on the ground around the trellis. I, mellow, disemployed, having the time at last to appreciate moments I have busily ignored in my rush to accomplish the necessary, the daily chores, the work of serving others, earning the dollars to pay the bills, provide for my babies now grown tall, scattered about the hemisphere as the storms roll in. The roses, so beautiful. I take their picture, smell them again, glad that I can before autumn arrives, then the ice of January. So on a night like this in 2000, we had some waves. I figure it's the last time I can surf in the summertime. So this poem's called Last Summer Wave, 2000, Southampton. Last sunset of the summer, living in the trees, drive down to the beach, west sky still yellow-pink, rush across the sand, romp out through the shallows, low tide, wind dying, young Jamie re-entering the ocean, mother to pick him up when he calls from the parking lot payphone. It's 2000. Meanwhile, we paddle energetically, charging to where the rights have been breaking biggest. After a few rides, the line's still discernible, but not the horizon outside. The set approaches. Jamie takes the first. I find the steepest pocket of the fourth, 7 feet of brine. Drop to the left, down to the bottom, accelerate into the coving wall, off the lip, float sideways, straighten my course, feel the wave steepen below me, drive down it, crank another turn, speed along until the section hits an inside cross wave, pop over it, find another section that accelerates, staying with the curl, leaning forward, feeling the wave curve back, arch into the final drop, cruising until the ride ceases. 80 yards later, happily gliding onto the shore, thinking I could paddle out for one more. But it's shadowy dark. Just a tint of pink, left where the sun sank behind the dunes and the mansions, empty, as autumn readies itself to debut tomorrow. But now it's 2 days. So, living in this estate, William Merritt Chase was among the first groups of artists that came out to the Hamptons in the 1870s. They were in a group called the Tile Club. They used to paint these big Spanish tiles, and they were called the Tile Club, and paint things on them. And one of the things about the Hamptons for artists is the light. So there's a quote in this book. Maybe many of you have read it, maybe not. Who's read Philistines in the Hedgerow? Anybody? Stephen Gaines wrote it. And here's a little quote from the book. When it got down to sundown, Ted Dragon said, Lee Krasner, she's the wife of Jackson Pollock, and I went out on the back porch, and the four of us watched the waning of the light. Osario and I had never seen light like that before. Artists have talked about the sea-distilled wet light in the Hamptons for more than 100 years. In the Hamptons, colors can appear more vivid or more muted than anywhere else in the world. Yet, on days when the sky is clear, the light seems to vibrate, virtually humming. The theory is that because the Hamptons are enveloped by sea and ponds and kettle holes, the luminous, rippling water patterns give off horizontal bands of light reflected by the water molecules, enchanting the ether. So now, Amy Campbell's going to read a poem, and she's going to use a little bit of light in it.
Hello, everyone. So, I guess going off light, I have this piece called Light Views. So I'll start with that. High in the sky, directly overhead, midday sun is the best light to view how you weathered the space encircling the early morning sunshine. When your eyes aren't quite focused and your skin is still warm from the friction of slumber. When you're rosy and vague and trying to remember, there was something to remember. Something you know you need to know, but you can't shine a light on it, can't put a finger on it. But you know, whatever it is very much worth it. As the sun sets and the vibrant reds and yellows, purples and pinks frame the place, cooling it down for the night. The sunset soothes the harshness of the bright noon sun. As it sinks, it pulls away singed flakes loitering on your skin, unveiling new, untarnished freshness. Sundown is the best light to see what each of the planets put you through, with all their hard angles and unhealthy conjunctions. Spotlight beaming, illuminating a crown on your head. I need that light to see you purely, right before the darkness takes over and spirits are once again free to rule your dreams. But moonlight is by far the best light to drink in the shadows, to soak in the deep. We need the moonlight to illuminate in reverse, to see all those things we soon will forget and again tomorrow recall, and then finally realize the value in the newly shifted light. So my next piece is called Dampness. It kind of feels damp tonight, so I'm sure that's relevant somehow. I'm not a poet in the dampness. This is real. This time. This time, I'm not. This time, I won't. This time, I can't. The stories are all lies, and I need one more slit to keep it flowing. Push the envelope a bit and get toes curling. Because life can be good, I've overheard eavesdropping with painted birch branches. I don't know how to start this. The button is stuck, it's out of gas, and I'm missing a piece or two. Ending or beginning. There are no defining lines in the wild where I roam, in the trees where I feel free, in the stars where I breathe easy, in the water where I stay, in the forest where I believe. The 4 is becoming the 5, while the 6 is jumping on, and time doesn't slow down, and neither should you. Keep moving while I save this space. I'll stay in this place and keep watch. I'll keep still and breathe the silence of the dead for you when you can't remember. I hope it makes you squeamish. I'm glad I'm feeling nervous. Maybe a little fiendish. Maybe no one will notice. Words aren't easy to construct when the letters are constantly morphing. How do you grab the dot for the I when you can't let go of the line? The sun soaks up my nature, my bare feet blister and ooze out where I am that you can't see, where I've been that you can't dream. What is real when you can't breathe? What is there between the seams? Welcome. Feel welcomed here. It's all for you. I have scars as proof. Their tagline is retreat. I open my eyes and wonder how long they've been closed. There's more to this, we all know. Each breath feels like the first, and this is how we go. So, there's that one. My next piece has to do with the earth and the land and taking care of it and how we don't take care of it most of the times, or sometimes. So this one's called Bounty. Speak the truth of the land, the destruction, the waste, the misuse by human hand. Hands coated in bones, diamonds, silks, and furs. A carcass left twisting as it moans. But we are here, and we will conquer. We will take and manipulate the trees and seas and all living things for plastic and superficial beauty, as if it was our duty, as if we are blessed and we are worthy and we are deserving and we are holy. And God and Goddess bestowed their blood, tears, and creations on our heads for our own use to discard and abuse. Here is your bounty, they say, bent on one knee, to take and rape and do as you please. For we all know we are the immortal and that resources never end. We all live in paradise. Have another, just pretend. Well, that there. Okay, so I got one more to wrap this up. This one's called Gypsy Blood. Just a little flavor at the end there. It's that gypsy blood coursing through these veins, face to the wind pushing forward as it keeps the past even farther back away. The new world is a vapor of possibilities, evading captivity. Blind to what's ahead, I know as long as it's new, I'll be home. It's that gypsy blood boiling, making my legs shake, my mind race, and my heart beat to the woven pattern of a land undiscovered, people unknown, and stories untold. It's that gypsy blood spilling over, drenched like you feel it's always been, and evaporated before you know it, leaving a trail of bloodlusters unquenched. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Amy. Amy Camel. Maybe I have a little one to follow that up, and then we're going to have Luther. In the same vein, but from maybe a scientist's research point of view. The wise and the benign continue their research. Everybody wants to be perfect, but you can't always be perfect. To be indecent, not perfect, not peaked. It's not too late. Laying out the truth like a carpet. Through the possibilities, do not mirror consistency. What happens in life, describable, philosophizable. But we just can't squeeze everything we conceive into molds of belief. There are bulges and loose leaves. What used to be changes to the difficile. Doctors hunt for the bug, devise a new chemical that eliminates an unexpected species, never imagined. To be vulnerable to what was foreseen, the wise and the benign continue their research, write their essays, feeling out the edges of what they contemplate, predict. There are contradictions and revelations. The inspiration whips them onward over the rapids into a clearing where they can peacefully reveal what they've discovered. No pomposity hiding ignorance, death waiting around the corner where the blind man sings and the queen forgetfully counts all her rings. And now, Mr. Luther Leahy Miller.
Same height, so yeah, I think we're the same height. So I have a bunch of little short ones. So I'll just read them. The New Yorkers do not understand the far out east's long, dark, northeastern winters. The sullen darkness, the damp, cold air, the Montauk Lighthouse churning through the endless night of winter, dead Indian ghosts and wailing souls upon the darkened rocky coves. They, the city-privileged folk, live in their perpetual daytime of Times Square nights and electric days. They don't understand the 6-month darkness and deserted towns. Their world is artifice, and ours is death and rumination. Ours is 6 months of loneliness, scraping for a living, and empty bar stools. Long sullen nights and no one to warm us. Ours is devoid of gallantry or museum openings and fancy wines or cheeses. We only have blustery cold nor'easters and perhaps a fresh catch of a boatload of clams or winter fish, or maybe nothing at all. The best of us make art or write or read or become obnoxiously religious, while the rest turn yet darker and drink or drug or beat their wives and kids. This is Eastern Long Island dark winter. This is what happens behind the scenes. This is what local or Bonneker truly means. Toughness, character, be it good or bad. This is Eastern Long Island winter darkness. And then I'm going to throw one in here by Gary Snyder. He's my favorite poet besides Bukowski. This is called Mid-August at Sourdough Mountain Lookout. Down valley a smoke haze, 3 days heat after 5 days rain. Pitch glows on the fir cones, across rocks and meadows, swarms of new flies. I cannot remember things I once read. A few friends, but they are in cities. Drinking cold snow water from a tin cup, looking down for miles through high, still air. That's it. That's the whole poem. And then I do a bunch of these like Twitter poems. If you go on my blog or my Twitter page, you can see them. It's kind of like a non-haiku, but I like using Twitter because it gives you like a sort of set format that you can only squeeze in. So, I think I better, let's see. So here's one of those, if I can find it. I'm rampantly disorganized, so bear with me here. This is actually my favorite one that I wrote, but this is called Long Island's Sad Little Oaks. Like all over Long Island, you have these stupid little oak trees everywhere. Long Island's sad little oaks. The pains of life on Long Island. The drear and the drudgery. All the sad little oaks always looking the same. The only difference in neighborhoods, the price of your goods or your car or your house. but the same sad little scrub oaks no matter where that you go. Long Island. I guess in the spirit of Mr. Mayer's, I'll read a surfing one. Breaking wave riding up to meet me. The excitement of the pitching lip. I wheel around and the rushing drop. Silence flying upwards past my ears. Singing inner bliss as I heave into turn after turn. Hurdling speed and driving off the bottom, up the face, and then wrapping back around again 3 times over until I'm done and reach the beach. This is surfing. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Luther. Got to keep the spirit of surfing going. I have a cute one I think you're going to like. I was going to call it Rumba with Patrice Lumumba. You know what Patrice Lumumba is? You guys know? He was I guess he was the prime minister of the Congo, and people said he was a communist, maybe he was, and they assassinated him in, I think, about the 70s. That sound right? Anyway, I also might call this poem The Media. The Media. Rumba with Patrice Lumumba. Dazzle a frazzled with Maurice Chevalier. Hark! Here comes Frank Sinatra. Mafia lording the cowering and the showering, about to ingest their cherry flambé. Always doing it his way. What can I say? My legs are ready to rumble. The dancers are about to sexually sashay around the orchids and torches in the cityscape orchestrated by Vincent van Gogh. Meanwhile, there are secret abortions, awful torture. Dick Cheney brazenly proclaims that everything is fair in war and business. The ghost of Ken Lay. Remember who Ken Lay is? He was the guy from Enron. He died in jail. Dirty rat. The ghost of Ken Lay, smiling, adjusting Dickie's pacemaker. George Bush mumbling eerily about his new paintings grandiosely on display. When the whistle-stop train sets Sarah Palin into the brains of the plainly insane, there rises a cheer that suds up the beer of the doltishly unfazed. Not by poverty or murder, guns blazing in the media, distorting coherence as it spreads like hot cereal, misleadingly blanketing the earth. The media. They don't always tell you the truth. No, they don't. All right. This is one that's kind of like, this kind of place. Down the beach road after the war. Down the beach road on the old telephone, when times were quiet and things were slow, there were 3 messages Mrs. Halsey had for me. One from Johnny Smith. He had called 4 days ago. He'd come by next week about the crack in the south wall of the bungalow. And Ginny Beard wanted to compliment me on what I said in the weekly paper about tides and floods being expected when the hurricanes would run in, as this was the season, that we had to pitch in with sandbags and neighborly help if rising waters threatened anyone's home. Then finally, Banker Brister had discreetly mentioned the insurance money had arrived, that I should visit him at my convenience as I had requested some months before at the beginning of the spring. The weather calm, no traffic like today. Most of us driving stick shifts, pickups, and sedans, just after the war when life was very different. Okay, now it's time for Ed Stever. He has a new book out called The Man with Tall Skin, and perhaps he'll favor us with a poem at least from that. And he is the Poet Laureate of Suffolk County from 2011 to 2013, Ed Stever.
All right, thanks. It's nice to be here. It's a wonderful setting. Begin with this. Family vacations. It's not how many hours you can stay awake after not sleeping for 24 of them, what with the time changes and the layovers, but how many minutes you can stay awake at each curve going 80 miles per hour in the rental. Hoping to keep at least one of the blinds up with the wife and the 3 daughters, single digits, sound asleep, and the road and the dark night and the longing, the black and blue yearning for a bed, a respite, a tongue in your mouth that could wag out a song to keep you alert, while the others move restively, then come to rest again. How little they know in the cocoons of their sleep, how close they are to the railings, to the cliffs, to the rental car, somersaulting down the side of the mountain, then the firemen lowering themselves on lines to the burning wreckage. The screams subsided now. And this is what keeps you awake, alert, and all of them alive. And they will never know this hour, this minute, this second, as later they sail off to ballet and tap and gymnastics, on into their lives and marriages, to their own families, as you drive each year closer and closer to the edge of that harrowing cliff. My daughter, a few years ago, went to Africa, and so I wrote this poem about her endeavors there. Missives from Africa. In emails from Kenya, my daughter Kim tries to quell my anxieties by writing, "We sleep out on the veranda at night, but don't worry, I check my shoes for scorpions in the morning. And no, we swim on our side of the river. The crocodiles sunbathe in the opposite bank. And yes, the camel spiders are as big as your hand. And yes, they are arachnids. They're in the scorpion family, but they don't have venom. And yes, there are crocs also in the dormant volcano in the middle of the lake that's as large as Long Island, and that we'll be climbing down to tomorrow. And yes, I did see baboons attack a family with small children, try to steal the baby. And yes, there are lions, but we don't see them. And yes, we are camping in the desert for 2 nights. And yes, one of the other girls did get malaria, but she survived. And yes, terrorists did lob a grenade into a nightclub in Nairobi, killing 16 people. And yes, that's where we'd be flying out of. And yes, Dad, I'm safe, Dad, really, really safe. And finally, I hope I've been able to allay some of your fears, Dad. But I'm coming home, Dad. I'll be all right. But I'm a cup full of sorrow, Dad, because the people who live here will never leave here and will continue to eat the sand for breakfast and the wind for dinner. This is a little bit of a longer poem, but sort of in the same vein. 127 unconvincing reasons to continue existence. I do not see the point in being dead. What are the advantages besides not eating, or defecating, or brushing my teeth, brushing my hair, brushing off salesmen, washing my ears, washing the car, cutting my toenails, cutting my hair, cutting the lawn, plucking errant eyebrow hairs, plucking defeat from the jaws of victory, paying taxes, paying more taxes, paying my dues, fighting off salesmen, fighting off fatigue, watching my waist, visiting the dentist, visiting my in-laws, having yearly prostate exams, having car accidents, getting arthritis, getting stiff, lusting for women, remaining faithful to my wife, remaining faithful to my ethics, vacuuming the pool, vacuuming the house, painting the house, siding the house, expanding the house, losing the lottery twice a week, gassing the car 3 times a week, praying to God, getting no reply, crashing in planes, crashing in trains, crashing in cars, crashing in boats, cashing in bonds, cashing in chips, eating rotten cashews, eating the rancor of my boss, investing in 401ks, waiting for my W-2s, filling out 1040s, fighting off salesmen, watching infomercials, eating tainted meat, lusting after women, getting venereal warts, getting hemorrhoids, getting fallen arches, getting McDonald's, getting a colonoscopy and matching colostomy bag, getting matching luggage, getting bags under my my eyes, getting an ulcer, losing my hair, losing my eyesight, losing my hearing, losing my mind, catching the bus, catching the train, catching the flu, getting flatulent at aroma group therapy, getting a tie for Christmas, getting 2 ties for Christmas, taking the cat to the vet, taking a vet to the VA, talking to a lawyer, wondering if someone owes me money, wondering if I owe someone money. Stepping in dog crap, fighting off salesmen, fighting off lawyers, running out of toilet paper, getting cramps, getting transmission fluid, getting rickets, getting crabs, getting diarrhea, getting impetigo, getting cancer, getting cold, getting hot, losing my memory, and cleaning the pool, pooling my resources, waiting for the mailman, watching my weight, getting down to fighting weight, fighting with the neighbors, lusting for the neighbors, burning with desire, burning that bridge when I get to it, cutting what's left of my hair, cutting costs, drinking decaffeinated coffee, using sugar substitutes, using sexual substitutes, using prostitutes, using a bedpan, hating young people, clipping nose hairs, clipping toenails, declaring my stomach as fun fat, declaring the cat on my income tax, overheating on the expressway, expressing my feelings, stumbling on the sidewalk and trying to look cool, breaking shoelaces, picking my nose at red lights, picking scabs, inspecting picked scabs, inspecting the car, inspecting the mailwoman, expecting a tax return, maybe. Cleaning bird crap from the windshield, cleaning birds from the windshield, calling the psychic hotline and wondering how they didn't know it was me calling, getting a vasectomy, getting a traumatic hemorrhage of the scrotum, getting the wife pregnant, waiting for pregnant pauses, and finally, wondering how anybody in his right mind could possibly want to give any of this up. Near-death experience. I was in the hospital having hemorrhage 3 times in a single day. I was at death's door. When it opened, my parents were on the other side, their hands on my chest, pushing me back. They said, "It's not time yet." "But it feels so peaceful on the other side," I replied. "Yes, we know. That's why we don't want you here." True story. Freudian Daydream. I lie naked in bed in 93-degree heat, inflating Debbie, a life-size doll by helium tank, swiped from work at the novelty shop. Bulging, she sails to the ceiling, mouths are red, "Oh," while grinding black garters against grit-white paint. Inflating colored condoms, blue and green and yellow, I drop them up at erogenous landing zones, but she dodges in an open window breeze, and when I shut my eyes, a mere second, she's propelled out the window by a slow leak. She hisses over the fence, stacks up above the next yard where she spirals down into my neighbor's pool. I watch in horror as kids race out of the house screeching, "Look at the new raft Mom got!" Then leap onto Debbie, who slowly fizzles to pool bottom, another relationship down the drain. Do you want to move on now, Claude? One more? The Poet Shuffle. I think I'm going to go to the book here. Searching for mercy in a parked car. It's night, it's raining, and I'm sitting in the car as a taxi with a tent-shaped ad illuminated on its roof hisses down the road. My wife is inside waiting to hear from a doctor whether she gets to keep her breast or not. I light a cigarette, crack the window, smoke curls out into the night. I couldn't go in, couldn't sit there, trying to avoid the desperate faces gazing down at their full, mangled, or missing chests. I watched the traffic light change its mind from green to yellow to red, and I'm ashamed not to be with her, this perfect woman whom I still yearn for after all these years. A truck drops a bundle of tomorrow's news at the curb of the dark deli next door. This surgeon only has office hours at night, busy carving all day. I know the rise and curve of each of her breasts, one slightly larger, the pink eraser-tipped nipples where I suckled, and then, as a consequence, the children. I check my watch, take a pull of my coffee, flick an ash out the window that clings to the outside of the wet glass. The streetlight refracts through drops of rain on the windshield. I flicked the wipers on, they whished back and forth. No, no, no. Okay, thanks.
Ed Stever. Very good. All right, Molly Weiss. Time for you. The featured poet tonight.
Thank you. How's everyone doing tonight? We're doing good? Or I'm a little bit taller maybe. I wanna, thank you, Claude, for having all of us. It's been a real honor, especially as someone who put out my paintings first and, grew up with William Merritt Chase as someone I looked at, and it was cool to know that this was gonna be the spot that we were gonna do it at. So thank you. Cool. I guess the one I'm going to start off with is a little bit about home. The spit that lands not far from the city, a highway I call my home, the L-I-E, interestingly spells lie. And for so many foundations of lives. Passing through from the time I could remember, often wondered about the city's skyline, sparkle before me, make-believe songs whip out the window. From Ariel, Dorothy, and Belle at first, now Lana, Gaga, and Alicia. Diving into that concrete jungle where dreams are made of, burning the bridges that light the way, on the way. What's real and what's fake? Feeling that harsh concrete and how it does taste, a place of willpower, consistently, rats and constant clockwork of choices. Jogging and running for my life is a truth. I learned how to move from this city. I learned how to digest from this city. It circulates and reminds me every day to move my fears away from suffering, stagnation, inside and out, praying even for this poem to help now. That's my backup. Because most recently, this purgatory has been stepping up to the fact I don't accept minimum wage boners. And it's disgusting how women get treated still. And I will throw that out there like the spit in the wind, the same as that 1% threw our economy in, and it affected millions. And to be brave and value myself. For my father died with his mouth open wide in a motel in a ghetto. Not bad for a white girl, some say when I dance. And I've been offered a cage, but too scared of people, too naive emotions, 500 an hour, such an irony now, I spit now, poor as a pauper. But inspiration is on my side. Muscles that pick me out of bed, reminding me that I am still alive. And when the voice keeps asking me, how on earth do I survive? And everything is dangling from a tiny thread that keeps firmly pressed shirts together, judging me. And I'm late and I make mistakes, and how I hate academia, out to make profits off people. Trying to keep up with the machine, but let's get real, pressed shirts won't get you anywhere. We've all become statistics. We've even created a box for our artists. Is it all just a beauty contest, a cool contest? Still today, I'm ashamed. I spit in my own face, stupidly hanging my head out the window, scratching the surface of my truth since I was a little girl. Certainly, I'm no African queen, Nina, and my baby don't care for me either, Nina, and oh, how I want to sing with you, Nina. And together we will string words, fucking pressed shirts, giving birth to more and more work. This white girl from New York will die in her spit in a pile of of interpretations and judgments. Only can dream my feelings will inspire others, relate to and grow to in new dimensions. Grow like the fat on my belly, growing and growing and growing till the shirts won't fit anymore, and together we will move into a time where it's more about the mind, not class, not race, not sex, or any other material thing we dress those stereotypes in. I've always spiritually been a hard worker, and I've always been a doormat, compassionate of others, sacrificing even stripper wage boners now for a belly of everyone I love inside, representing something different, goals different. It's a delicate system. I chew them up and I spit them out. So thank you. Again, I appreciate it. Now, going through all these, I have to say, I think lullabies have always been kind of a big influence. And so it kind of is nice to be at the end of the night. So maybe I'll be like singing you off into the stars here. I don't know. Here. I got one about growing up, and it's about that kind of growing up time when you really love someone and they just know you have to part from them because they're no good for each other anymore. And it's like, oh, but I love you so much, and they just don't talk to you anymore. And then they don't talk to you, and you're like, oh, but now you're not talking to me anymore. Okay. Time to, and you gotta go. So, no matter how much this bad world controls us, it screams out and off with her head, a thrashing little Alice and her wonderland of dread, led to believe she can make anything out of stars, and how quickly she realizes what people are. And the water is a trusting soul. You just have to know the right time to let go and trust what's down below the good old rabbit road. A furnace of acceptance. The flames are relentless. Who said you couldn't match water with fire? It sounds like a wish Neverland would desire. Admire the great strength of pirates and fairies and lost boys, fighting over what's mine and yours, caused by actions or flaws, and who makes the laws? Now careful, stop, think, and just pause. Peter Pan, what is your Neverland? Trust. And boy, does my love run deep and I love strong, but I keep having to move on. A cliched phrase running along underneath my eyelids, I see them until I come out in tear form, only to continue to drop into my chest, which still continues to collect. A water that's rising, anyone in it has no chance of surviving. It boils and then it bubbles, and all you could do is start screaming, how could this be me? And is this who I am? No fairy tale can figure out. Just too much to get out. So relax, baby, we'll all float on. In a murky pool, a reflection looks up at you, an epiphany interludes. Will anyone even want to know who I am? That famous line from Disney's Land. But the first thing of discovery is knowing who you are. A puppet first, and then you're a real boy, Pinocchio. When you lie, your long nose will still continue to grow. And underneath the rainbow, that cavernous chest still screams love. I'm gonna get. And just because for 1 second I felt love with you, betrayed my trust, my Neverland too. I didn't know where to turn, so it was the tunnel I went through, and it's now here I'm stuck in the underwatery channel and all of its muck. And when I look up, I only see my face, left me bound to embrace the space I gotta walk away from, 'cause you're not gonna deal with this one so long. It's Neverland. Cool. Cool. Here's a short one that I just actually, I just wrote last night. I don't know what I did today. I woke up late. It was cloudy and gray. That night that you had with me, drinks bittersweet, keep playing in my mind. and surely distance comes, and it has begun. Now let's stick to our truth. Like a record on repeat, we will see each other next lifetime. The table was scratched, game was over. It was a match, all things out the window. And my friend told me, stop looking, keep the beauty to yourself. Stop looking, keep the beauty for yourself. Thank you. Claude, you could take it away now. And thank you again.
Thanks, Molly. All right, I'll read about 2 or 3 more, and then I guess we'll head off into the night. I just sold my house, and I went through the worst experience in my life, moving. After being in a house for 15 years, I'm sure many of you know what that's like. So this was a day I was going to close on my house, and I got up early in the morning, and this is what happened. I was very distracted moving from my house, closing on it later today. It human out. There's still so many things to do. I dropping something from my hands as I walked along the river. Not sure what it was. Watching it drift with the current, thinking it was my watch. Getting away from me, deciding not to let it just drift beyond my willingness to jump in after it. So I ran along the bank, jumped in, caught up to it, and actually a knife with a wooden handle, which I took with me as I climbed out of the water, reflecting on the safety of the water, that it probably was okay to swim in it, although it was a clear brown, green, brackish color. The wind was picking up as I stared up the hill, the mountains in the background, a house lifting off, blowing through the sky, debris splintering off it as it hurtled at me, enlarging it as it approached. Not sure which way to run, and passing to my right. No, it wouldn't hit me where I was, I gathered, but I watched it, expecting a massive blast, as it indeed struck, disintegrating a few white homes further down the hill, knocking off the top of the first one, crossing the courtyard to hit the other buildings in the complex, wondering if anyone got killed. Glad it hadn't hit my house. The closing at noon. The wind pretty strong. Another house sitting out within its reach might come down the hill next, or could mine just be torn off its foundation and experience the same fate as Billy's had? I thought it was Billy's. White with an orange brick lower half. I speaking to him on my cell phone about it, telling him I thought it was his house. Turning around to see a man looking like a younger Archie Bunker and his wife, talking rather calmly, I reckoned, to a few people, apparently about their house. And one of those that the flying house had hit. They surviving, seeming uninjured. I'm wondering if they had been in their basement. Had that protected them? Or had the flying house just struck the upper half of theirs, they in the kitchen, going unharmed? Picturing if another house was whipped off its concrete foundation, came bombing directly at mine, could I be safe sheltering in my concrete basement? This all happening while I was packing madly, anxious and unsettled. 3 days until the moving van would arrive. We having no place arranged to rent as yet. So much stuff to organize, lift, decide to throw out. I awakening in a sweat, still seeing the house, amazingly lift off, trailing white sheetrock powder and plaster as it flew through the humid breeze, threatening to destroy and kill something and someone, or more likely many people, unfortunately, at the end of its terrible, catastrophic path. Ah oui! How many people live in New York City? And I know you guys, a lot of us have to drive there. So I go to Minnesota every once in a while, and I got to make these planes and get to the parking lot and get there on time. So this one's called Traffic Report. You know, you listen to the winds and you try to figure it out. They have traffic every 10 minutes. Traffic Report. The brain hears the words, gets distracted with their imagery. Utopia Parkway, heaven on earth. The road to there jammed with rush hour traffic. Red blinking taillights, harried commuters changing lanes, thinking they'll reach their destinations faster. Whitestone Bridge, backed up to Flushing, down the toilet. The purity, the stone stained with embedding particles of pollution, exhaust from cars and buildings, power plants, coal-burning facilities, lofting smoke from tall phallic stacks, blending with the early morning sky. The reporter's voice now mentioning the turnpike, accident in the left lane, traffic at a crawl around the Pulaski Skyway. Take Route 78, he recommends, and will continue to suggest for the next 2 years as construction will go on at least that long. A couple jumped off the George Washington Bridge holding hands yesterday, eventually dying. Suicide after killing the male's uncle, stealing his gun. My mind running along random paths of consciousness, words, locations, causing my concentration to drift from the conditions on the Cross Island Parkway that I am approaching, with traffic thickened, what I was specifically listening for. A few words, suddenly gone. The meaning missed. Other roads and streets, highways and bridges mentioned as time evaporates. Traffic reported every 10th minute on the ones. Flipping back to the girl at the rock show. Blink 182. Trying to relax. Not arrive too late at the airport. Missed my plane in Minnesota. Arrive late to work, if another flight is available. Preparing to change the station again to the all-new station. Focus my brain more disciplinedly on each word. In a few minutes, enjoying the beat, the vibrant young romance. Meanwhile, hoping to comprehend what I must incorporate into my gnarling trail westward, not losing any words during the next staccato traffic report. All right, I guess we'll end it with this. I guess, who likes to travel? I know you do, Vinny. All right. Well, this one's the ultimate. Why can't I go everywhere? Why can't I go everywhere and meet every person on earth? Traveling fun, what I love to do. But is there enough ambition to produce fruition of my wishes? Watching the morning sun climb above the rainbow clouds, hear the hippo in the river, examine the stars, imagining the timelessness of existence, the universe expanding and contracting beyond our scope of vision, like our lungs exchanging oxygen for the greenhousing of carbon dioxide. Do I have sufficient energy to complete my mission? Would I become emotionally tired like an old gray dray, losing its legs from all the exertion, the demands that age compounds? Memory a stickler for concentration, admiration, retention of dimensions, how she looked when the ship departed, how Picasso parlayed his art into a joyous life of creation. Can I find my way through the maze around Cape, contemplating what choices I would have made had I been him or her, the gambler or the queen of charades? Oh, there are so many hours to adventure across the borders of the heart, so many miles awaiting my feet and my tires, vast amounts of thresholds to enter, food to taste, music to imbibe, dancing freely, kicking desert sand into the filtering marsh, opinions endless and infinite, stories the same. Long ago I started my journey. Till I die I could continue exploring this planet, greeting people approaching, dilemmas and euphorias differently. Why not light the spark? Sample evolving generations of belief and culture. I can only try to develop my ultimate path, my fascinating encounters with those who will welcome me politely and those who will reject my interested love. Travel on, everybody. Thanks for coming. Have a nice night. Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Luther. Thanks, Molly. Thanks, everybody, for coming. All right. And now your bonus poem to end the evening in honor of Joan Rivers, who passed away this year, 2014, and for all you aspiring comedians out there. I have reason to believe that you are not what you conceive, different than just a widow, a bony stylish kidder, telling jokes with stage fright, standing in the dark, practicing amidst recorded laughter, night after night. What can I tell you? News stories, comical lightness float above your insecurity, dribbling along the diaper. The plutonium particles tickling your ear while you sip a local beer. See yourself on television. The internet wanting you to appear in silk sheer, long legs, sassy voice. If you could make the choice, would you be famous or fantastic? Performing like a master. No heckler's words unreturned without nubile fire, inciting shocking fear. Would it happen to a better woman who has worked and sacrificed outside of her passion, doing what she had to do? The missionary coming to save you, the executive arriving to entertain you, then sign you to a contract, a series of shows on HBO or Spike. Publicity, popularity, after years in servile quietness, only to create new sequences, situations that shape their own fate, emerging from your brain, crossing your lips with a whip and a quip. Dullards, beware. Excruciative plumbers, keep your hands off the derriere. All the glitter, the happy faces, the backslapping, the falling off the chair. What a comedian wants. A precious widow's delight. The storm roaring outside. Fun brewing from your mic as hysteria cascades, drowning all care.